let's take a look at NCAA football here with our Nolly Knows. Nolly, what is on your radar? We will cap Tulane Houston in its entirety on Thursday, and we'll cap Louisville Georgia Tech in its entirety on Friday. So don't worry about that. But what is on your radar for NCAA football?
A big thing on the radar, and it's crazy you use the word, is Hurricane Delta. That's a big factor here when you look at a lot of these totals. I mean, prayers out to everybody in the path. But I think people will be disappointed to find that it goes from Category 4 hurricane and now hits the Cancun area at a Category 2. So a significant decrease in the expectations of rainfall and wind that are going to make landfall. When you talk about Louisiana, you talk about parts of Mississippi and Alabama, and a lot of these totals that what I was looking at crashed. They crashed really early. A couple lines that I did not expect to crash that significantly, especially when you talk about the Vanderbilt, South Carolina Vanderbilt game opens up at 46 down to 41. And I will say a lot of these totals that people are afraid to bet in the 40s, only one game last week lost, FBS game. I mean, there was a FCS, FBS game that did, but I don't really count those games in my stats. But only one game, two FBS matchups from in the total with the in the 40s lost last week. So totals in the 40s still have value. So I don't understand why people just blindly will bet over just because it is college football. I have a lot of success in that. I did last week as well. But that's what you see, and that's a surprise. But what I do see is the tick up now. People are starting to realize that it's not going to be as bad as what they thought, and starting to see a tick up. One game that I did take was Georgia, Tennessee. I did take the under at 44. This is a Georgia defense considered to be the number one in the nation, only giving up about 60 yards rushing per game. And that's something that the Tennessee Vows, they rely on heavily. They run the ball 42 times. A team that I've been on the last 2 weeks, barely covered the first week, looked pretty good last week. And Tennessee's defense has looked pretty good. I've been really impressed with Bennett over there with Georgia, been throwing the rock really well. But it's still a Georgia team that's run first. NFL style, and I still lean towards the under. It's crept back up to 43. It was down to 41.5 as well, and I like that under. Another one would be East Carolina. I had to dig into the gutter for this one. East Carolina, University of South Florida. I'm going to take the under here. I took under 56. It's crept down. It started at 59, and the reason you see South Florida, the offense has been pretty bad. They were only able to put up 27 points against the Citadel, and against Notre Dame got shut out last week against Cincinnati. A pretty ugly game, which I also had the under. And it's 28-7 loss. And one thing that I noticed that the defense was a lot better than what people might expect. And the other side, East Carolina, really nothing to like about that program. Got really shellacked by Georgia State, but that game got out of hand really early. But in my opinion here, I got a total near 53. So or no, not, I'm sorry, that's the wrong game. But yeah, this one I've got total around 49. I just see South Florida really struggling on offense, really not throwing the ball really well and relying on their run significantly more, running the ball 35, maybe 40 times here. And that's the under that I like here. And the game that I actually had around 53 was the Texas State Troy game. Now, this one, I feel that there's been an overreaction, and then the total's getting bet up right now. And the big reason why it gets bet up, because initially got bet down because Troy being in Alabama, people were expecting the weather. And Texas, the Troy hasn't played. They got their game canceled due to COVID. And here they play a Texas State team that, I mean, it's looked pretty good to start the season. Haven't lost by more than a touchdown. And being that Troy hasn't played, I expect their offense to sputter a little bit, but a Troy defense that has significantly improved, and they typically own this battle between the teams. And I like the under here. I feel I got more than a 6-point edge on this one.
We have 3 unders for Nolly here. So we'll start with this Tennessee, Georgia. This total opened up at 45. There's a 43 and 42.5 on the board. Nolly got in at 44. So there is this first look, Tennessee, Georgia. Then we move to South Florida, East Carolina. So this total opened up at 57 and is now at 55.5 or 55. What number did you get it at?
Sorry,
Uh,
I got 55, 55 and a half. It's still there in my book.
It is there at a few books. So there is the second look. This USF under. This is a USF under that also our man Viper NB is backing. So he's also there. And then we have Texas State Troy. Texas State Troy. Let's jump all over this. Speaking of this spot, we have it opened at 63. It's now at 62.5, although some books are bringing it down sharply. So it's moving down fast, 61.5. Our guy, Johnny K, says Texas State money line looks nice. Do you have a feel on a side with this Texas State Troy spot?
I mean, and what makes it stranger is the COVID situation and some of those spots where I felt I had an edge on a team didn't really come to fruition. Being the fact that they were dealing with that, what Troy was is why I might lean toward Texas State, but I don't know about the outright win. I do like the way that they played. You look at some of their opponents that they faced, and they fared pretty well. But that whooping that BYU gave to Troy, I mean, BYU seems to be for real. That defense is for real. They're significantly older than these guys, and that's not indicative of what Troy can be. They might not be as good as what they showed against Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee State seems to be really down this year, and I mean, I would lean towards Texas State with the numbers, but I don't know about the money line.
All righty. We have 3 NCAA football unders: Tennessee, Georgia, USF, and Texas State Troy. 3 unders from our Nolly Knows.